Hello, welcome to Conversations with Sakina. Today we are going to look into a rather strange case, which I happened to find on the Missing Enigma channel on YouTube. They titled it Abduction or Imagination? Perhaps the most bizarre missing person case ever. So I will put a link to that in the description box below because I'm not going to give you a huge amount of the story. I'll give you what we need. So I'm going to begin it once upon a time. At Shasta Trinity National Forest at Fowler's Campground, a family went for kind of a family reunion, the way that it sounded. And amongst the children was a 3.5-year-old boy by the name of Indiana. And he went off with the other kids. Not sure what the ages of the other kids was, but he went off with them. And the story goes that somebody yelled, one of the kids yelled, "rattlesnake," and all the kids scattered. But of course, being 3.5, Indiana had no idea that he was supposed to run with the rest of the kids or be afraid for some reason. So he was left on his own. The other kids went back to camp. They discovered that Indiana was not with them, and so they obviously needed to set up a search. They did find him. Okay, so this is not necessarily a missing person for a long period of time. They found Indiana 5 hours later. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks after he had gone missing that he was at his grandmother's house, and while they were playing on her porch, he said, "I didn't like the other Grandma Cappy." And her name was Kathy, but he called her Cappy. And she was very puzzled. She's like, "What do you mean you didn't like the other Grandma Cappy? I'm the only Grandma Cappy." And Indiana proceeded to tell her that while he was missing, and I don't think he quite put it that way, but when he couldn't find mom and dad, when he couldn't find the campsite, whatever he said as a 3.5-year-old, he told her that Grandma Cappy, the other Grandma Cappy, had come and gotten him and taken him to what is termed a creepy place, which later on was determined it was probably a cave of some sort. And she poked at him and prodded at his belly and asked him, now this is very strange for a 3.5-year-old to say, but she wanted him to poop on a piece of sticky paper, which he couldn't do. He couldn't make himself go. And in this cave full of spiders and cobwebs, he saw dirty guns and dirty bags and dirty purses, and he also saw people standing around inside the cave, but they weren't moving and they had very strange faces, facial expressions. Now, this is a lot for a 3.5-year-old, and the grandmother really wasn't sure what to think about it. Apparently, after this took place, she called her son and said, "What are you letting him watch on TV?" But they said he had told them the same story. They just hadn't shared with anybody. Fast forward, or maybe I should say fast reverse, to a few weeks before Indiana went missing. Grandma Cappy, the real one, she went camping with a friend, and the friend had a camper and she had a tent, and she woke up face down in the dirt after they had gone to bed. She woke up face down in the dirt, and she had like a big round something on the back of her neck, and she was extremely sick, like so sick that she couldn't barely move. And her friend, who was in the camper, was in the same shape she was and also had like an injection site, so to speak, on the back of the neck. Are the two connected? We don't know. However, Grandma Cappy that took missing Indiana to this creepy cave, he called her a robot. So this story, which I guess has circulated for a long time, but this was the first time I had heard of it, Grandma Cappy, he called her a robot. So it was robot grandma. And he knew that she was a robot because when the light hit her, her face sparkled like metal, is what he told his real Grandma Cappy. So what we want to figure out here with the Lenormand is, I guess we're going to see if it actually really happened, and if these two incidents with the grandma and then the missing little boy were connected somehow. And that's what we mainly want to know, is, was there really a robot grandma, and was the robot grandma created through the situation that the real grandma went through a couple of weeks before Indiana was abducted? So we're going to see what comes out of these Lenormand cards. We're using Purely Simple Lenormand, which is my own design and is not for sale. And then we're going to charge these 3 cards. The child obviously will be Indiana, who again was found unharmed. And part of the story of the cave was that once Robot Grandma got done poking and prodding at him, she took him by the hand, led him down the trail, and put him underneath a bush and said, "Stay there until you're found." And that is exactly where the canine sniffer dog and his handler found Indiana, unharmed, quite cold, but unharmed, and took him back to his family. So we are charging the child card as Indiana. We are charging the woman card as the real Grandma Cappy. Aunt Kathy, sorry. We're going to say Cappy because that's what the little guy called her. And we're going to use the man card as the robot Grandma Cappy, mainly because we only have one woman and one man in this particular Lenormand deck, mainly based on numbers. So that is what we are going to charge these cards with. So I am going to put them within the deck here and get them shuffled up really well. I've already done that once with this deck before getting started here, but I want to make sure that the charged cards are mixed in very well. So I will speed up this portion of the video so that you don't have to sit through a long layout. We use all the cards and it can sometimes take a little while. So I'm going to be quiet now so I can speed this up for you. Okay, all laid out now. And as we can see, we have the child over here. And as per Lenormand, with the method of distance, we're going to have a limited, very near portion here because we don't have another side of the cards, okay? But here is the child's very near. Here is the near. And those are the ones that we're most interested in for the child. And then of course the Grandma Cappy, the real Grandma Cappy, is in the near portion of the child's little area here. And we have the fake or robotic Grandma Cappy down here in the fate line. So we're going to start with the top 3 cards here. So I'm looking at these saying we have the dark side of the cloud facing the sun. So I'm going to say that what was meant to be a really awesome, happy day was cut short by the incident of Indiana missing. And I feel like because the scythe is facing the book and not the sun, I feel like there were some hidden situations. There were some hidden signs perhaps, or hidden some kind of information that was hidden that cut this short. So perhaps there was more than meets the eye to the day and what happened to Indiana. And with each of the corner cards here, I feel as though the change that took place and kind of undercover, and when I say change, it's unpredictable change that took place in this social setting. It's not the first time it's happened. So this is a repetitive kind of scenario. What happened to Indiana, it appears. It's kind of repetitive, but again, it's not really sharing what that means per se. Now, the one thing I do like is the fact that the mouse card, in anytime you're looking for a missing object, and I intend it also when you're looking for missing people, that when it is in close proximity to the missing person or the person who was missing, that means that they will be found. If this card is over here in the far, chances are they're not going to be found. But as we can see, it's in the very near portion. So we know that this child, Indiana, was found on the mountain and taken back to his family. With the center 4 cards, which is pretty much the heart of the matter, the cross card is like trials and tribulations, burdens. And I feel as though this is more of this was a trial, tribulation, whatever you want to call it, that Indiana went through. And it was due to visitors. Now, these visitors, we're talking from another place, another land, far away, and this isn't necessarily meaning they are from Earth, but it's not showing like, the star, which is clear over here, or the moon, or the sun is over here. So this could also be taken as, Indiana was taken up in the clouds in the sky kind of thing too. So I'm looking at this as Indiana had a trial or tribulation, just a 5-hour one, with the visitors, and it was done on the sly. The opportunity was there, and they took it. It was done on the sly. And just basically that is the answer. That's the key to what took place with Indiana. And these beings or visitors took the opportunity to become someone that Indiana trusted, somebody that he was, or that was loyal to him, and he knew that, and somebody that was part of his family. And that's what they used to make sure that they could take him for a period of time. Because if we follow his line here, we've got Indiana, the opportunity was there, and it was done by someone he trusted, which would have been his Grandma Cappy. It was a trial for him, brought on by these visitors. And their goal was to, I think, make it appear as though he was no longer living and to take him up into the stars. Now, there was a part of this story that this Grandma Cappy, the robot Grandma Cappy, had said something to Indiana about they were the ones who put him in his mommy's tummy. So almost as though he actually was from the stars and they weren't actually, visitors that he didn't know, but he didn't know them. I mean, they knew him. Let's put it that way. So, that's his line of sight here. And for here, his column, Indiana's column, it's just saying that, he was taken up into the clouds from Mount Shasta, taken away from his social gathering, at least for a little while. And they really had no intention of keeping him. I think that was the original thought, and something, I don't know what, there's no way, I don't think I can tell here. There's no way for me to know for sure why they decided to return him. But the happy thing is the opportunity, they got the opportunity, but they returned him. And interestingly enough, in his near cards, we have the social gathering, their family reunion, and they were, staying overnight, camping out, and this real Grandma Cappy, Indiana recognized her, recognized who she was as family, part of the family, and looked upon her as she was one of the strong ones in the family. And also, somebody that absolutely loves him, beyond loves him. So, in fact, that's why this Grandma Cappy was used, because it would make Indiana feel safe and secure to go with her. So the bottom line is, yes, they used, I'm going to say that it's probably a good bet that when Grandma Cappy, the real one, had her, I'm going to call it an abduction scenario with, waking up face down in the dirt. And as she put it, she's 50 years old. She's not going to sleep in the dirt. So when she found, she was face down in the dirt and had the big injection type site on the back of her neck, I'm going to say that was used by these visitors to make a copy, because she's the one that Indiana would trust, and Indiana would go with her. Part of me is also thinking that with the real Grandma Cappy looking at the moon, I'm thinking that maybe she too was a part of this race, whatever this race is, and chose to be a human on Earth this time around. And, so that's why they have her facing the moon, which is up in the sky somewhere, just like the clouds, just like the sun, just like the stars. I'm just thinking that that's maybe where, she was at, but she doesn't remember at all that she may be a part of whoever this race is that cloned her to have Indiana trust her. So in essence, I think we answered the question of, were the two events, connected? The various, what happened to the grandma and what happened to Indiana. And I think we have a little bit more answer as to how it happened. We just aren't finding a why necessarily for this specific time period. I'm not seeing a why it took place. We just know that it is something that happens. They're looking for something. They must be looking for something, because if this is a repetitive thing, then they're looking for something or someone specific. So that's what I have for this reading. If you are a seasoned Lenormand reader, I would love to hear your take on the layout of these cards in the comments. And if you have anything that you can share with me, I'm always up for learning more about the cards. I'm not a seasoned reader, so this is what I have. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care.